Okay, we'll just try this out. I just want to see if it's actually working. Okay, all right. So, actually recording this as well. So, for other platforms to be available. Okay, so Stray, I just actually finished that. I probably should bring my camera lower, but oh well. Um, I finished the game about a month ago, and I didn't get a chance to share my thoughts on it, but love the game. I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I don't. I'm not familiar with any Annapurna interactive games. Just I okay. Some of you guys may be like, "Oh, what? You haven't played this and that." I'm guilty to say that I play a lot of AAA games. That's the only time I have. You know, a lot of us really don't have time to be playing other guys, but we should. You know, we should make time because a lot of these not so popular games or small from smaller studios are actually really good, and Stray really proved that. And I there was I only got Stray because of my PlayStation subscription. I upgraded to the premium tier, which gives you a lot of games, a lot more games, and cloud streaming, which is also so much fun on a PC. You can play your PlayStation games. But yeah, so that's why I got Stray. I was able to play Stray, so downloaded it. Let me first talk about the visuals, the art style. Oh, it's so amazing. I loved it. I loved every bit of it. Just trying not to give out. Well, actually, I'm gonna do spoilers here. Okay, this will be um, ones for those who have already finished the game. So if you don't want to hear any of it, just listen to this the next time. Do finish the game. Come back here, share your thoughts, your comments, because you're going to have some thoughts and comments. Trust me, this game is so good. So anyway, if you don't want to hear any of this, okay, I'm gonna talk about Stray. There's gonna be spoilers here, so if you don't want to hear it, okay, you just stop it, and I'm gonna start it in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay. So the beginning scene, okay, where Kitty, I again, no names for the cat, okay, but I do call him Kitty. Okay, now it's up to you. Okay, that's completely up to you, but I just named him Kitty. Okay. And the first scene was, nice and calm, and walking through the, first of all, like the sound. I played it on the PS5 um, with my 3D headphones, and just everywhere you turn, when you're turning, it's like you can hear, and it's just, I know the technology behind it, okay, I know that, but it was just amazing. Okay, amazing. You can hear the trickle of the water, the rustling of the leaves, okay, the winds, and when they're walking. One of the things that was so awesome about this game that I really was so amazed is, that I haven't really experienced before, is because you're playing as Kitty, the camera is set so low to the ground that you're really seeing, it in from the perspective of a cat. um, and I've just never really played a game that was set that way. That's why I really enjoyed it. Let me actually give me 1 second. Let me actually change this category to podcast, just because I'm setting this as a podcast, so it's only right that I talk shows in podcast. Okay, so I'm gonna do that. Done. Okay, I'm gonna update that. Um, so yeah, so just from there, uh, again, the art design, the art direction, the art style was amazing. Again, starting from the beginning, where Kitty was, in the not in the fields but in the open. So I don't know if I got it right. I think there's like 3 levels. So the uppermost level was something happened to the world where uh, they all went underground because of something that happened on the surface. So in the beginning of the game, Kitty was at the very surface, which is our world right now. And then for some reason they went underground, which is below that, and kind of covered it, right? Their whole world was covered for protection. And then that's in the middle. Then there's the very bottom ground, or there's some parts in the middle section where for some reason the technology that they had for to save them actually uh, uh, went bad. Okay, that's from my understanding. And then there's the third most level, which is where the little blobs are. I call them blobs because I don't know what they are. um, and they're toxic. Okay, so I think that's at the very bottom. And from the very surface, Kitty fell all the way down to like the underground, like the third level. And that's where he finds his way out, onto the second middle level, which is kind of where like the normal life was, the adapted life that the people, the robots have. And for some reason, again, I guess humanity was wiped out from whatever happened in the surface, that the ones living in the middle part were just robots. This is from my understanding, of course. Correct me if I'm wrong. Um, and yeah, from there, so Kitty falls all the way there, and the very underground is really kind of eerie. You don't know what's happening, and you initially get like this sense of you're alone right now, and they captured it so well. um, where you can really feel in the game that you are astray, just from that scene where he falls, and then he's trying to figure out where he is, or you're trying to figure out where you are. um, and then he finds his way to like the middle part of it, the middle level. um, and it's like a mini like cyberpunk, cyber city. um, it's not like a massive map where it's like overwhelming. There's no map, obviously. Uh, it is somewhat of a platformer, although some might argue that it isn't, just because you can't really go certain places. But just let me just stick with that. Let me talk about gameplay later. But just the art style itself, yeah, it's a small cyberpunk like city that I was raised in Hong Kong, and this somewhat like resembles some cities, some inner cities in Hong Kong. What really reminded me most of it was when Kitty had to go to like the inner parts of it, where it's like between buildings, and you can like go up. Kitty could go up to like the air condition sets, and those air condition sets were kind of like old school and reminded me of like my days back in Hong Kong. um, so it resembled that, even like the backside of the building, the robot sweeping the floors, reminded me of like how it was like in Hong Kong. So anyway, so the the art style has a way of really making you feel like you're really there, and getting you so fully immersed in in the world that you're currently in. Um, it's nice to walk around, just discover things. I was so surprised by like the details they put in it. It's it's very intricate. Again, coming from a smaller studio, I didn't expect it to be like so wow. Um, you can take your time to just like explore the city, go into some of the shops. And there are some tasks there, um, which by the way took me a while to figure out. The kitty had to steal like was it the hat? I forgot. He had to steal something from the store. I didn't see the part where he could take a cassette tape from this other robot and then play it there, make a noise, and then steal it. So for those of you that haven't figured that out yet, well, if you're listening to this, you should have finished the game. Um, so yeah, uh, uh, art style is amazing, and then the adventure. Okay, so let me stick with the art style first. So that's the middle ground. The part where um, the very last part where they had opened the cover. Okay, that was really amazing too. Again, the art style there that they did just makes you feel like this is it. It's about to happen. Um, he was in Kitty was like in an enclosed area. I forgot what it was. It felt to me like an airport. But anyway, he was in an enclosed area, and then it started opening up, and just the design that they did there really makes it feel like wow, like I'm actually seeing the upper world now. It's amazing. So that's the art style. Let me talk about the gameplay. um, Gameplay wise, sorry, a little bit more on the art style. Of course, it's coming from a smaller studio. I was maybe some improvements maybe in the future would be, Kitty, like his fur, they weren't swinging like some cats when they walk. See that little, kind of fur like kind of swaying a little bit, and we didn't see that at all. It's like very stiff. And that's like, again, they're working on a certain budget, right? So in a certain time frame, with a limited number of staff, maybe. So maybe in future games, they can maybe do that. I don't know, Stray Part 2. Anyway, I mean, with how successful this game was, I don't think Stray Part 2 would be impossible, or not, not in the horizon. um, so yeah, that's art style. Gameplay, really good, although I gotta say, when Kitty is trying to jump from one place to another, there were some moments when it felt kind of clunky. It felt a little stiff. um, the way it works is, and you guys know this if you've finished the game, is that you have to get into like a certain position from where you are jumping from to where you are jumping to, and you have to see that X for you to be able to jump. And sometimes that X won't show up at all. Okay, again, I'm playing the PS5, should not be a problem, but you'll have to really position yourself, and I felt like that was so limiting sometimes. Uh, but they did a very good job of directing you where to go. So in the beginning, if you guys remember, there was a part there where like you can, I forget which button you press, but it'll like a hint, where to go. Um, they did that well with the lights and everything, but later on you couldn't do that. You just have to kind of figure out for yourself where you're supposed to go, and they did a good job of kind of showing you where you should go. Just certain parts will be most obvious and certain parts are not. um, they did a good job doing that. Other than that, controls were good. Nothing complicated. Narrative. Okay, then yeah, the story was amazing. Again, if you finish this, we can talk about it because I did give you a spoiler warning earlier. Um, I have never been so moved like in a game where I was just like, I mean, when we lost B12, I was like, wow. I'm like, that really got to me, you know? I mean, because it, this whole time you were together, and then all of a sudden, like, he's gone, and you really feel it, you really feel it. Hold on, let me just fix something here real quick. Sorry. Okay, there you go. Sorry. This is, okay. I'm sorry. This is, all right, right, right. Okay. So, uh, where was I the story. Okay, so the story was so good. Like I said, I've never been so moved. First of all, when you're like trying to figure out what's happening, the story develops character development as well. I mean, honestly, it's not so much the stray. You're actually, the character development here is actually B12. So you get attached to both, really. You get attached to Kitty, and you get attached to B12, and you get to know parts of what had happened to him in the real world. Didn't really say much, I think, about how he became like a robot. I think he did. I probably just didn't catch it. Um, but yeah, you get so attached to B12, and then all of a sudden, like, he uses up all his energy, and then that was it for B12. And let me know what you felt in the comments. Uh, how it was for you, because for me, I was so struck by it that I was just like, oh my goodness, like I could not take this. But wow, it was so moving. And it was so sad when after that Kitty had to just kind of like lay beside B12 and just sleep there, and then kind of just stay there, and kind of um, just taking all of it. Well, it was more of me taking all of it, because I could have moved, started moving Kitty, but I didn't. I just kind of stayed there. Um, and then the part where things started opening up, I mean, that was amazing. It's like the whole journey was it unfolded in a way where you also felt like you need to get out of here, and you need to help the people get out of here. There's that kind of sense of urge for you to help them, and for you to anticipate what it is like, on the upper level, you know and all that hard work. It was challenging. I mean, the blobs were challenging. You really had no weapons against them, so a lot of it is really strategy, you know what to do, evade them, outsmart them. So all of that, um, uh, uh, you wait for that moment, to be like, oh, where and how will I get to the upper world, and how do I help these robots to get there? Um, and then when it started happening, I was just like, whoa, like it just started opening up. And you really feel like it was more like a melancholic feeling, and also a sense of relief that it is happening. um and then when it started opening, I'm like, and then Kitty starts walking, and I remember like getting out of that control room, walking into like the area where the gate was. I remember even before that happened, before that whole scene with the control room, I was actually by the gate, and I saw it, that this was the main door to open, the main gate to open to the outer world, or the upper world. And so I was like, okay, so this is where it's at. And I even went closer, and I'm like, it's obviously closed. Okay, so, and then I went to the control room. So after that, I went back to that gate after seeing, the ceilings open. I went there, and then it started opening up, and I'm just like, oh my god, this is it. This is the moment that I've been waiting for. And and you see the anticipation too of the robots, and like they're kind of surprised that this is actually really happening. And then he goes out and just sees, kind of like the outside world. And then it kind of ended there with Kitty looking at you, and I'm like, like they didn't have to do all that looking at you, but they did. And it made it so personal when Kitty did that. It's kind of like saying farewell at the same time, like, but I hope it is not, the final farewell. I hope that um make another Stray. Although part of me is like, what are they gonna do for part two of Stray? Maybe like um, to be reunited with his siblings, because in the beginning, I think those were his siblings. Who knows? Could be, right. Um, be reunited, and they didn't show what the world was, or became. I mean, the fact that again, they said that nothing was left living in the upper world when they went underground. But as we've seen, that the plants have grown, and it was basically like a forest, I feel like. So life was good, I guess, in the upper level, and we didn't know anything after that. um, so maybe part two of Stray would show something like that. I think with the success of Stray, I think that we'll definitely see, um, uh, uh, it will definitely have some kind of hope that there will be Stray Part 2. Okay, judging from how well Stray Part 1 went. Um, so what I like to do usually when I finish a game, I like to go to OpenCritic, which is like a compilation of how critics have judged it. Okay, and just kind of read and see if I agree with them or not. So I'm gonna do the same thing here. So let's see. So Stray again. From OpenCritic, it's OpenCritic rating is mighty, which is high. Okay. Um, and top critic average is 84. This is out of 100. Okay. Critics recommended this game 88%. I'm kind of bummed that they didn't go all the way up to 90. That's fine, whatever. That's them. Okay. Um, Eurogamer, it is recommended. PC Gamer 82 of 100. IGN 8 over 10. Okay. Metro Games Central 7 over 10. Okay, Easy Allies 8.5. Games Radar 4.5 over 5. Okay, that's pretty good. They're actually, I think they're the closest that rated it. Games Radar plus Game Informer, okay, 8 over 10. And GameSpot 9 over 10. Alright, so let's take a look at Eurogamer. They don't do a rating just because they just do a recommended. Let's take a look at what Tom Marks from IGN has to say. Let's look at the review. Okay, I'm not gonna play the video. Okay, so he says here, let me close all of this. Okay. Silent protagonists are nothing new in video games, but Stray certainly pushes that concept to an interesting place. Part platformer, yeah, that's what I was saying. Part traditional adventure game. This cyberpunk world, full of neon-soaked robots, transforms into a giant jungle gym from your perspective, which is just 1 foot off the ground. The concept of putting you in the paws of an average cat may be a silly one on the surface, but Stray uses that furry vehicle. That's basically what it is, right? A furry vehicle. That's what you're doing. To tell a genuinely compelling story with some entertaining action along the way. Not all of its ideas land on their feet, but it was impossible to shake the fuzzy feeling it gave me right from the adorable opening minutes. To be clear, you're not a magic cat. Yeah, actually, you're just a plain kitty. Okay. And the reason that you're able to kind of interpret things or communicate with the robots is because of B12. Really, this is why we've grown to be attached to B12, because B12 really is the one who's interpreting things and, connecting Kitty to the world. So just normal cat, cute cat, albeit one that displays that sort of intelligent awareness we all like to pretend our own cats do when we aren't looking. I don't have a cat, but I can imagine how that will be. The simplicity of that concept works wonderfully, especially because the fact that you are a cat doesn't actually matter all that much to the artificial people you interact with or the things you're asked to do. The robotic denizens of this cyberpunk world generally talk to you like they would anybody else, and the only way it's ever really relevant to the story or the action is because it can fit into tight spaces they can't. Yeah, that's true. Um, I was just reminded, in that one scene where you're trying to enter this factory. Okay, if you guys remember, I was myself like, oh my god, like there, I was trying to hide from them, and then I remembered, oh wait, hold up, like I'm a cat, okay, and you know, even now if we see like a stray cat, that hence the title, you don't really think much of them like they're gonna invade your space or anything like that, or they're doing something, they're trying to sneak their way in. They're not doing any of that. So when the robots saw Kitty inside the factory, it wasn't really a big deal, and I was like, oh okay, like I forget I'm a stray cat, and they're not thinking much of this. Okay, the only things that were detecting me were those robot, like the detectors. Okay, so that's pretty interesting. um at the time, Stray revels in the fact that it has made you a cat. Your refined form brings a lovely and light-hearted flavor to this otherwise dark world, and there are moments all throughout that encourage you to set aside your responsibilities and simply play. Yeah, like the scratching of the doors, scratching of the couch. And there were times when scratching, like, actually is helpful. There's actually a purpose to it, but other times it was just like for fun. And then you can even like like at the library, there was some importance to like pushing the books around, but like for the bigger part of that is like you just having fun, like knocking the books down, and then sleeping too. That was really interesting. You just kind of, and there was a part two that was in the library. There's a part two with a musician where you just kind of stay there with a musician. You listen to him. You sleep. I thought that was a lot of fun. Um, Walls and carpets can be scratched at. Knees can be lovingly rubbed against. Yes, objects can be heartlessly pushed off shelves. And there's a dedicated meow button that I rarely stopped pressing. Yeah, I used it quite a lot too. You can also find serene spots to curl up and take a nap, letting the camera pull out and giving you a moment to enjoy a nicely staged scene alongside one of the many impressive songs in Stray's excellent futuristic soundtrack. This is a wonderfully rich world, one I really enjoyed learning all about, while your cat's own story is a pretty simple tale of a lost adventurer trying to get home. The conflict you end up stumbling into is very well told. The beautifully designed city you have to make your way through is bleak without feeling pessimistic, full of history to learn and charming robot citizens to chat with despite the fairly dystopian situation around them. I talked to everyone I could. Yes, that's actually what I did too. You get to know like the different robots. Even though it wasn't, some of them didn't play a big part in the game. It was just nice to like kind of like get to know them, their history, what they're like. Really cool. I talked to everyone I could, whether they were relevant or not, and I loved seeing that their computer screen faces would display as I excitedly meowed around their feet, be that annoyance, surprise, or just a big heart. Yeah, when you're not sleeping on a pillow, Stray generally puts you in one of two types of situations. You'll either be running through fairly linear levels full of amusing platforming challenges and some light puzzle solving, or exploring one of its more open town areas, whether you'll collect items, talk to friendly robots, and complete tasks for them. The former sections almost remind me of something like a 3D version of 2016's Inside, with relatively simple obstacles being elevated by the exemplary atmosphere built around them. The latter sections, on the other hand, shift straight into a genre more akin to a point-and-click adventure game, except in this case, your pointer is a cat. I don't feel as though it was a point-and-click adventure game. I really don't see it as that. I can see where he's coming from though in on some scenes where it felt like a point and click, but in general, not really. In either case, moving around as a cat isn't always quite as fluid as I hope it would be. Like what I said earlier, exactly. It wasn't just as fluid. There were some times where it felt, it felt so clunky. It's fun to scramble up air conditioners mounted to the sides of buildings the old school way, right? Or walk along railings, but you don't actually have a dedicated jump button to do any of that with. I mean, yeah, you have to, yeah, like I said, press X, and see where that X shows up. That's when you can go. But yeah, as far as can you jump anywhere you want? No. Instead, you can press a button to hop to predetermined interactable spots automatically when prompted. That means the only difficulty associated with any of the platform is wrestling the camera into the right position exactly to hop to the spot you want, and you don't exactly move with the nimbleness of a cat once you do. Yeah, it kind of I agree with that. It kind of a cat, you think of a cat as like flexible, can jump anywhere, and this game didn't really portray that. Okay, just because they want you to go certain places. Okay, though that's partly the fault of the movements animations themselves, which can be noticeably stiff at times. Like what I said earlier, it felt a little stiff. The linear sections are still quite enjoyable despite their straightforward ease, kept interesting to the end of the 5 hours it took me to beat Stray by 5 hours. Okay, so I know some of you guys have actually done it in fewer than that. I actually did more than that just because I said, my time to play every day is very limited. So I did it over a span of days. It took me to be straight by constantly introducing fresh ideas and environments. There are exciting chase scenes as you run from, oh, talk about excitement. Yes, like the one in the apartment, escaping the apartment. I thought that was like so much fun. Oh my goodness, I had so much fun there. As you avoid security drones and puzzles where you might have to lure the enemy AI to your advantage. Yes, not all of these ideas are as successful as others. The weakest of them gives you a weapon to kill the Zurgs, which quickly devolves those previously tense encounters into a pattern of killing a few and then running backwards while you recharge it over and over. But they are all, yeah, I seldom used it. I used it for a few times, only for that one stage that they first gave it to you. Other than that, I never actually used it because it was pretty much useless. You were either gonna get killed anyway. So you just use it like for a few seconds and it has to recharge. So in the beginning where they gave it to you, it was useful for those few stages, but then after that, like I didn't even bother with it anymore. But they are all clever enough to refresh the platforming throughout. Exactly, each stage is like designed beautifully. Each section of the game was designed beautifully, gameplay and so on. Exploring the small towns between these sections is a lot of fun from a four-legged perspective too, with each area sporting a surprisingly dense layout full of nooks and crannies to sniff out, and a great use of vertical space. While the main quest will send you running around them on its own, there are also plenty of optional collectibles and quest lines that I enjoyed stumbling upon just as much. Some might have you tracking down the combination to a hidden safe in classic adventure game fashion, while another has you collecting sheet music. Oh yeah, did you guys get all the sheet music? I didn't. And I think the one that the volume that I had completed, that was the one that the guitarist was playing. But I didn't get all of it. There's a lot to find, and some collectibles are hidden well enough that I didn't manage to uncover them all. Yeah, me too, on my first playthrough. So there's definitely at least a bit more than 5 hours of worth of stuff to do if you want to find every last secret. Yeah, hey, let me know if you guys platinum this. That would be interesting. to know where the sheet music are at, if you can remember them. Um, yeah, let me know in the comments if you platinum this. Good for you. I wish I did. I wish I had the time to actually do that. But then again, I do play and review quite a number of games. So I wish I had all the time. I wish I never had to sleep. Anyway, assisting you with the less paw-friendly task is B12. Oh, B12, RIP. An equally adorable floating robot companion who hangs out in your backpack. B12 accompanies your cat for most of the campaign, and the relationship that forms between them is a nice cornerstone for the plot as a whole. It's as much B12's story as it is the cat's. True. Actually, you get, like I said earlier, you get to know more about B12 than Kitty, actually. So honestly, making your cat feel more like a furry avatar in someone else's tale a lot of time. That's not necessarily a bad thing though. And writing for B12 and the rest of the robots you meet is more than good enough to make up for the limited conversational skills of your protagonist. B12 doesn't get all the interactive glory either, as I enjoyed when initially superfluous cat actions were occasionally repurposed into actual game mechanics. Yeah, that's true. For example, you might need to get someone to open a door for you by scratching at it, or wake someone up by knocking something off of a shelf above them. I can still remember that I forget his name, the one robot who I guess had hung out at the bar too much, and you needed him to like lift for you to get into the hat shop. I think I forget what it was. And you had to knock over something on the shelf because he was sleeping on his head on the table to knock over. I thought that was genius. I thought that was really genius. Very creative. Later on, the meow button I had been incessantly pressing with no consequence up until that point could suddenly alert a guard to my presence. Yeah, yeah, I remember that. I was having fun with the meow button in the first few minutes of the game, first moments of the game. Then later on, I realized that it was alerting them, and I was drawing their attention, so I just like did not press that anymore. Um, Up until which would have been dire if I hadn't been appropriately hiding in a cardboard box. Again, none of these tricks were ever very complicated or challenging, but they were entertaining all the same. And that's really what a lot of games that we play is sometimes not really for the challenge. A lot of us play games to chill, like I do, to relax, have a good time. I mean, there are some competitive games out there, and they have their place, and I like them too. I like feeling competitive, being competitive sometimes. As gamers, we're all naturally very competitive, um, but at the same time, we also like to just chill and relax. Sometimes, and Stray is one of those games that really gave me that. So verdict, okay. Stray is a delightful adventure in a dark but endearingly hopeful cyberpunk world, and that's thanks. Okay, honestly, the cyberpunk world is like a certain stage, a certain phase of the game. It's not the entire game. Okay, so um, I think we can all agree that it isn't. You're not. The whole game isn't in a cyberpunk world, really. And that's thanks in no small part to the fact that you are playing as an adorable cat the whole time. It's a mix of simple platforming and puzzles with item hunting quests is balanced very well across a roughly 5-hour story, and though I wish my moment was a little more nimble during that time, I still loved hopping across rooftops and scampering through back alleys to find its well hidden secrets. The new ideas it introduces along the way help keep things as fresh as a new bag of litter, to even if not all those ideas work quite as well as others. But whether I was scratching at a carpet or curling up into a ball and taking a cat nap, Stray does a great job of setting itself apart in a way that feels like more than just a novelty. That's true. Yeah, it's an amazing game. I mean, I just like when this is pretty much on point, pretty much on point. Okay, this is not bad at all. 8/10. Well, uh, that's IGN's way of saying it's good. It's good. So not so bad. Next time I'll probably pick like ones where like those that gave a lower ones. Let's see who got the lowest one here. I'll pick the lowest. Eurogamer. I don't know how I'm going to judge that because it just says recommended. Okay. Let's see. Let's see what their Eurogamer. Okay, 73. Okay, so yeah, that's fine. Let's see. 82 over 100, 8 over 10, 7 over 10, Metro Game Central. Games Radar 4.5 out of 5 stars. Game Informer 8 over 10. GameSpot 9 over 10. Let's see what Metro Game Central has to say. They gave the lowest one. Okay. Oops. Can I not click on it? What is the matter with this? Hold on. Oh, there it is. I was clicking the wrong thing. Okay, well, let's see if you're a gamer real quick. Okay, let's see how they... Okay, I'm trying to see how they actually judge there. Okay. I mean, do they have like recommended, not recommended? Stray captures the essence of yada yada yada. Okay. Blue 12 Studio. Let's see. All this stray. Okay. Well, let's see. Let's see Metro Game Central, because I don't know how Eurogamer does their, what is their range. I can't see where the range is. Yeah, I can't see where the range is on this. Let's see. 1 second here. Do they go like recommended, strongly recommended? I'm not sure. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna look into that some other time. Okay, Metro Games Central 7 over 10. This one is reviewed by David Jenkins of Metro Games Central. Oh, did I press it twice? Whoops. Okay. Okay, so we're really feline. I see what they did there. The most realistic cat ever to appear in a video game is the star of a... I wouldn't say realistic cat, though. I mean, the movements aren't really realistic. In some sense, yes, but for the most part, again, it was... you can't just move around. Okay, so it doesn't mimic a very realistic cat. And again, the fur wasn't waving, you know, as it moved. So again, not as realistic as some people might think. Is the star of a peculiar cyberpunk-style adventure in a world ruled by robots. Okay, no matter how popular they may be on YouTube, cats are always the last choice for animal hero, whether it's movies, TV. Yeah, when was the last time we had a cat hero? Yeah, I mean, other than this game, obviously. Bubsy Bobcat made from Night in the Woods. I didn't even know that. And Meowth are already scraping the bottom of the barrel in terms of cat-themed protagonists, and the reason for that seems obvious. As cute as they are, a cat wouldn't lift a paw to help anyone, but there's always an exception to the rule. I think it's just cat's attitude to be that way, right? That's just how they're made. Stray is an unusual game in a number of ways. For starters, it's an indie title that often looks better than many a full-price game, although it's actually completely free. Yeah, this is what I did. It's a premium subscriber. There's also a free trial. Yeah, so if you guys just want to, like, it's a pretty quick game, you know. Some people have finished it, like I said earlier, about 5 hours or even less. That's if you have, you know, a lot of time, right? I didn't really get much of that, so you can actually just use the trial and try it out. So you play as a cat, an ordinary non-anthropomorphized cat, but in a post-apocalyptic Blade Runner style city. Yeah, Blade Runner style, exactly. Good description. populated by robots and what look like the head crabs from Half-Life. The game flits between whimsical fetch quests, such as making someone a poncho to keep them warm. Oh yeah, I remember that. Yeah, that's right. To survival horror style elements accompanied by a discordant industrial soundtrack. Yeah, the soundtrack's pretty cool. Actually, I have this thing where every time I finish a game, I add their soundtrack on my Apple Music and my Spotify. And Stray has a good one. Love it. And it's funny because like I have all these soundtracks in my playlist and then I put them on a shuffle and I know exactly when the Stray one is on. I don't even have to look at my phone. Oh, is this one of the songs in Stray, one of the tracks in Stray? No, I just know it. And that's how different it sounded like and unique it sounded like. The game flows using musical fetch quests, like survival horror style elements accompanied by a discordant industrial soundtrack. Like we said, it's an unusual game, but rarely a dull one. It's definitely not a dull game. Yeah, that's right. Although nothing is explained in any detail, the implication is that hundreds of years ago, the Earth suffered some kind of ecological breakdown, exacerbated by the creation of a special. Oh, now I remember. Yes, special bacteria to break down waste. That by the time of the game has evolved into the head crab like Zerks. Ah, yeah, that's what they were called, Zerks. Okay, this guy's pretty good at describing the game. I like that. David Jenkins. Okay, good job. At first, the cat, he doesn't have a name, so we're going to call him George. Oh, I call him George. I call him Kitty. Okay, George sounds like a grown man already. You know, a very serious grown man. I mean, if your name is George, good for you. Okay. I actually really like the name George. And let me take that back. Okay, but for a cat though, I don't know. Knows nothing of this because he and his pals live in an area where nature has grown back. But after taking a fall, George finds himself in a subterranean walled city, purposefully locked off from the rest of the world. Okay, so let me see where where he puts in a negative kind of I don't see anywhere why he gave it a 7 with no indication of who's in charge. Yeah, okay. Even the often literal signposting, it's not patronizingly easy, but you'll speed through it in 6 hours or so. Some collectibles. Not much incentive to play any of it again. I mean, you know what? If you really love it, you'll have the incentive to play it again. Like for me, like I wanted to find all the music sheets, so probably I will go back and play it again. Struggle to at normal price would struggle to recommend the game, but since it is free, with how much was it? I forget. It was $29.99, I think. Most indies are $29.99. This is an agreeably undemanding adventure. Okay, yeah. So I guess he's just mostly this is a perfect introduction to traditional video games for those that don't play them. Okay, so in short, okay, here it is. Pros: platforming, puzzle solving, stealth, and gunplay all work well. Casual gamers, excellent visuals, and great presentation all around. Cons: short. Sometimes it's nice to play a short game. Simplistic and with little real replayability. I disagree with that. For the experience, I would replay it to find everything to kind of platinum. And again, even if I platinumed it, and if I just want to experience that world again, I will. Odd tone that makes little sense considering you're controlling an ordinary cat. Oh well. His thoughts, I can respect that. Anyway, so yeah, so that's Stray. I hope you guys also enjoy the game. Thanks for sticking around. I'm playing next is Disney Dreamlight Valley. So I'll probably, obviously that's a sim game, so there's no ending to that. So I'll probably give snippets of it here and there. But I'm also currently playing The Last of Us remake for the PS5. Amazing so far. I'm not gonna talk about it right now, but I will talk about it next time. Okay, guys, thanks for sticking around. Hope you guys come back again next time. God bless. Take care.